Hey everybody, it's me again, here with a new video. I'm going to show you how to make an elevated garden box, 40 inches by 40 inches. What to do on the inside of it as well. Just basically how to put everything together, start to finish. What you're going to need to get things started, tape measure, any size really. It's best if you use 2 wood clamps or 2 C-clamps. But preferably 2 wood clamps because they're not going to scar the wood near as badly. Speed square, any size, or any size bigger than this or this size will work. A brad nail gun, not a regular nail gun. 1 1/4 inch brad nails. 1 1/2 inch brad nails. Vice grips or pliers for pulling the brad nails that miss or bend, because there will be at least one while building this box that will need to come out. 1 to 2 pencils or Sharpies, a skill saw, and a table saw. You're going to need some pallets. You're going to need to take those pallets apart, and you're going to take the nails out of those pallets. All the wood you see in front of you, I've already done that. That's 3 pallets worth of wood. What we're building is a 40 inch by 40 inch elevated garden box, which usually takes 2.5 to 3 pallets worth of wood, depending on the pallets themselves. In this case, I just went ahead and took 3 of them apart. Now, if I have any left over, I can use it for the next box I decide to build. What we have here is a middle piece to one of the pallets. What we're going to do with these pieces, because they're thicker than the rest of the pieces of the pallets, is going to cut the bottom portions off, left with this one really long, even piece. And then I'm going to trim those up to the point where I can actually use them in the frame itself and cut them up as necessary to fit. You're going to want 3 of them because these are only 48 inches each. You're going to need 4 of them at 40 inches and 4 of them at 39.5, depending on how thick the pieces are that you're left with. The size will vary, so make sure you take your measurements. Fun little tip: when you measure your wood, don't pull the tape measure like this. Take your finger or your hand, push on the end, and push your tape measure back into it. You get a much truer measurement that way, because when you go to measure the distance between the saw blade and your guard, you're not pulling on it, you're pushing into it. So by pushing into it to start things off, you're actually making your life a whole lot easier, because you're giving yourself an actual measurement as to what this is instead of a false measurement as to what this is. So that's mostly done. I'm going to run it through one more time, but first I'm going to take not even a full saw blade off, because I just want to smooth this out, because if you can see, there's a bunch of pieces that are standing up. It was a lot smoother than this side was, but still kind of rough. So I'm going to run this through, then run it through that side again, just to smooth things off. I'm going to do it for the other 2 pieces. I'll catch you guys when I'm done. And I'm done with this portion, guys. You might not be able to tell, but each of these pieces is just ever so slightly different from each other. This one's a little smaller, this one's a little bigger, and this one I think is actually right where I wanted it to be. But I'm not going to mess with them much more than this. What I'm going to do now is measure across this way and across this way and cut them down the middle in both directions. And then I got to do separate measurements for each of them, because like I said, each one is different. unless you're just a stickler for perfect numbers. That's the best way to do it, to make do with it, and it actually ends up turning out pretty nice. So, fun little tip, or fast little tip, if you ever end up cutting down the middle of the wood and it's not quite the middle you thought it was, take the smaller piece, in this case the top piece I'm showing you, use it for your new measurement and trim the larger piece down to size. That way you don't have to go through the trouble of cutting up another piece of wood, and you still have usable pieces of wood. Anyway, catch you guys later. So what we're doing now is, now that I've got all these pieces cut, this pile here will be 40 inches. After that, I'm going to put them side by side like that, measure the difference, and cut this other pile to match for these two. In this case, I take these two and cut for these two and cut for these two. Do stuff like that. And in case I screw something up, I've got a third board already ready to be split in half both directions to get spare pieces out of. So with that, I'll get to it. So for this part here, you're going to want a speed square to help keep things straight, and the skill saw, because as much as you're cutting off, the table saw gets just a little too awkward to work around, and you're more likely to cut yourself. By using the skill saw with speed square, you're far less likely to cut yourself, and you get just as accurate cut over this short distance as you do the longer cut on the table saw. Like that, got one piece to 40 inches. Now that we got the 40 inches cut, put them into two groups. You decide which one goes where. So in this case, I'll do that and that. Like that, they're grouped up. So I'm going to start with this group here first. Measure across. That is 1 3/16 inches. Now that we know the width of these two together, all I need to do is subtract 1 3/16 inches from, say, these two here. So instead of 40 inches long, it'll be 38 13/16. Which, if done properly, will give us an almost perfect square. Here's my 40s. Here's my 38s. 38 3/16. So make sure you have enough room to do this, otherwise everything just gets really congested. Take your 40s, spread them out, and this is where you're going to want your brad nailer. When using the brad nailer for this part, you're going to want 1 1/4 nails, not 1 1/2. There's the size difference. A lot easier to control, and if you screw up just a little bit, it's nowhere near as catastrophic as if you screw up a little bit with this, because it goes a lot further. So that little screw up turns into, you gotta pull it out. Now, before you start nailing just all over the place where you think it looks square, take your speed square, bump it up to this piece here, slide it across, And as you can see currently, it's not flush. So what I'm going to do is take it and slide it like that, and now it's ready to be nailed. Just 2 nails per side should do it. Rinse and repeat for the remaining 3 corners. So now, I've got everything nailed up for this bottom side, top side. It could go either way. But for this portion of the frame, I know the outside edges here and here, straight up or straight out, are 40 inches. Now, to be safe, what you want to do is measure from here, outside to outside. If it measures 40 inches, you got a 40 by 40, you got the start of a 40 inch by 40 inch frame. In which case, just rinse and repeat for the other 4, and I'll catch up with you guys later. Okay, both top and bottom portions of the frame are built. What you want to do next in this process is take one of the long, thick, skinny boards, especially the really thick ones, and cut it at 15 inches. You're going to want 4 pieces, 1 for each corner. And then you're going to want a 5th piece just to line it up.